Welcome to our 2021 season ticket push. To all of those of you out there that have thought about going to a UTSA football game, now's the time to get on board. I'm Andy Everett, the radio voice of the UTSA Roadrunners. Head coach Jeff Traylor is going to join us in just a moment. What an exciting time it is to be a part of UTSA athletics. We're so looking forward to this coming season, coming off of a bowl appearance, returning 21 of 22 starters. Some of those standouts include guys like Sincere McCormick and Frank Wilson and Rashad Wisdom and Lucas Dean. These guys have not only excelled on the football field, they excel in the classroom, and they're outstanding young people as well. Great citizens for UTSA and the city of San Antonio. We're doing this Zoom call today from the brand new 95,000 square foot race facility at UTSA, the centerpiece for UTSA athletics. Another part of the shining stars that are going on this campus in support of athletics. And this is the time that everybody should be on board, getting very excited about what we're doing at UTSA. It impacts every part of campus life and student athlete life here with the Roadrunners. So this is an exciting time as well. Many of you have been to UTSA football games in the past. We want you back. If you haven't been to a game in a few years, now's the time to come enjoy the UTSA Roadrunner experience. Last year, a 7-5 season was not even thought of as being a possibility when the season began, but someone forgot to tell the coaches and players because they thought they could do even better, and they almost did. This year is expected to be just a fun season, and we all like football. You wouldn't have come to a football game in the first place at some point in your UTSA life if you didn't love football. And you also probably love winning a lot too, and we expect to see a lot more of that going forward into the future. An exciting Conference USA season is ahead of us, and we can't wait to make you a part of it as well. Season tickets on sale, 458 UTSA. You'll hear us talking about that as we go throughout the day. We want you to come back and be part of this exciting time with the Roadrunners. Joining us right now is the head coach, Jeff Traylor. Jeff, welcome aboard. 2 weeks away from opening day against Illinois. This is an exciting time, isn't it?
It is. A lot of excitement around here. Kids are excited. Finish up the last day of fall camp. We'll scrimmage tomorrow and turn to the normalcy as a normal school week per se, and preparing for Illinois.
What have you seen so far in these first couple of weeks of camp that you like, and where do you see the room for improvement, maybe knocking off a little rust from last spring?
Just about what I expected. Our kids are extremely bought in. We've got tremendous player-led leadership. Our leadership council and those single-digit guys are all back. We'll revote that tomorrow, actually, after the scrimmage, and have that, hopefully settled by this weekend. And that'll be exciting to see who we put back in those single-digit numbers and who our leadership council is. So that's going to be interesting because most of the time, in these kind of transitions, your older kids leave and your younger kids step into those roles. But we've got everybody back, so it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
The 0 through 9 numbers have become a kind of a competition within a competition. Everybody's fighting for playing time in a starting role or a backup role, but now you've got as many as 18 players trying to get 0 through 9, either on the offensive side or the defensive side, and competition breeds success, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was worried about it actually, just because I didn't want to splinter our team. So I brought it to our players, leadership council down. Just ask them. I know this was, my idea, but I don't want it to be something that I'm so prideful on that if you guys aren't for this, we don't have to do this. Because I'm really concerned about all those players returning, and how's that going to shake out? Are people going to get upset if they lose their number? And they were all 100% like, Coach, we love it. We're about it. That's what our brand is, and we want to move forward with it. So we'll see how that shakes out. So if you ask me what I'm concerned about, those are the kind of things I'm more concerned about. Is you got name, image, and likeness now. You've got transfer portal. You've got jersey numbers. You got leadership council. You got a whole lot of awards. You got a whole lot of expectations. How do our kids manage all that as a coaching staff? What are we doing to equip our kids to be prepared for all these things that could splinter a team very quickly?
Yeah, you were not expected to win 7 games last year. Now everybody's expecting to win 8 or 9 or 10. So with that expectation comes the realization that you're not going to sneak up on anybody. Everybody's going to be gunning for you to a certain extent.
Well, let's be honest. I had the perfect job last year. We had 0 expectations. and we had unbelievable team culture. You know, you'll never get a better job than that one. Well, that's gone now, right? And our mantra this year has been, as the expectations rise, our culture has to rise to match it. So we're preaching it, teaching it. Our leadership council is doing a great job of it, of being selfless, you know, to serve each other and not be about the individual. And what we've been talking about, you know, this week it's pretty, you know, it's the who before the what, and it's the we before the me. And that's where we have to stay.
Well, there's the old saying, getting to the top of the mountain is a lot easier than staying there. And whether it's a golfer or a tennis player or the New England Patriots or whomever, once you're the top dog, it's hard to stay there.
Well, let's be honest, it really doesn't matter what you do. Your fan base is going to want more. It doesn't matter. Every year they're going to want more, which is fantastic. But, you know, I've been through this a little bit. You know, we were never going to win a district championship, and then we did. Then we were never going to win a playoff game, and then we did. Then we were never going to win a state championship, and we did. Well, then you couldn't win 2, and then you did. Then you couldn't win 3. It doesn't matter what you do. That is always going to be out there. So you just can't focus on all that. You have to focus on what you control. And what we can control is our brand, our 2-1-0 triangle of toughness. Win the day, be the very best we can be every day, and let the outcomes come however they come.
Let's talk about the triangle of toughness. That was something that you implemented last year along with those jersey numbers. The players have rallied around it. And on top of that, you've really focused on making sure if there's a San Antonio kid that can play for UTSA, he stays here and doesn't go somewhere else.
That's where we start. That's where the 2-1-0 begins, obviously. We've made a promise, which is I'm sure why I was hired, to recruit inside out. We're going to start in San Antonio and work our way out. We haven't got every single kid that we wanted, but we've got most of them. And the ones that we didn't get, no, we came after them. There's no way their high school coach or they or their family could say we did not target them, offer them, and recruit them. And we've won most of those battles, but occasionally we lose one of those battles. But everybody knows that's where our focus is. Then the next piece of that 2-1-0 this was Matt Rule's idea. He gave me the idea about how about making the 2, the 1, and the 0 even more important than the other single digits. I thought it was a fantastic idea. I presented to our leadership council. They loved it. So the guys that get the most votes get the 2, the 1, and the 0. Sincere was one of those guys, but he wanted to stay in 3. So it doesn't mean that exactly. If there's kids that, you know, Trevor Harmerson was voted in, but he had a friend that he was honoring by wearing number 15. So there are occasionally a couple of those situations, but those single digits are our kids that best represent our 5 culture pillars. And those culture pillars, obviously you hear about them all the time. Our pinky promise, we're going to be selfless. The ring finger, we're going to always bring passion. The middle finger, we're going to be mentally and physically tough. The index finger, we point at our teammates. We're going to be selfless, which is going to be the biggest one this year for us. And then our thumb, we're going to always give perfect effort, wad those 5 up, pound the fist, trust the process, and win the day. In all that, the triangle stands for it's equal now. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. We're first and foremost going to be physical and great on defense. That's what we're going to hang our hat on. The second part of the triangle, we're going to be a team run team. We're going to run the ball to win and throw the ball to score. We're going to throw the ball vertically down the football field. And then the last piece of that triangle, which is still equal, is we're going to play our better players on special teams. And I really expect that to be where we take the big step next year. We think we recruited depth, and we think our special teams is going to be better.
Let's talk about that leadership council, because the coaches can preach to the players all day long. But if the accountability comes from 15 or 20 other players that are part of your leadership council, that resonates with the whole team, because now they're just as accountable as everybody else.
We tell them all the time. It's a rhetorical question, but who's the most important coach in their life? And every one of those are going to say they are. Because let's be honest, I get all the credit and I get all the blame, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to that individual. They're with themselves 24/7, 365. They're the ones looking themselves in the mirror. They know the truth. They're going to give me their best 4 hours, 3 hours a day. I'm not going to see the other 20. They're the only ones that's going to see that, right? So our leadership council are the guys that first, to be on it, you got to want to be on it. And second, you got to be willing to communicate. That's a part of leadership people don't talk about enough. You have to be able to articulate. your words and your thoughts to another human so they can understand what we want done. So everybody that's voted on there has to want to be on there, and they also have to be able to communicate very well.
We're talking to a lot of former ticket holders that are thinking about getting back into the mix and coming to games. I think some of the things we just talked about are great reasons to come. You have a core group of 100 plus players that are all really good, decent human beings. Number one, great student athletes, outstanding football players, and now they're playing for each other.
100 pluses was the student athlete in the entire conference.
Yes.
Not just for our team, the entire conference. What an unbelievable honor. And he's from San Antonio. He's a 2-1, he's a legit 2-1-0 kid. And he just happens to be an All-American kicker, by the way. And he also just happens to intern one of our businesses right here in the city. And he just happens to be one of the best human beings you'll ever meet in your life.
Exactly.
And I can't say enough about Hunter, who's on that leadership council. So you're exactly right. And we were so good at home. We were 5-1 last year at home. Our kids love playing in the Alamo Dome. They love playing for their city. And it's a bunch of our own kids playing in the Alamo Dome. And they're really good kids, like you said. They're easy to root for. They really are a fun group, and they're easy to root for.
You know, the one thing I always see, and it's not only this way with here, but I think it's kind of general in sports. The best players want to be pushed. They want competition. So you look at the depth chart, and you may have 15 wide receivers. Now, you're probably not going to play 15 wide receivers this year, but everyone's going to compete to be maybe those 5 or 6 that do play. And you never know when your number is going to get called, whether injury or in this world we live in now, a COVID issue or something along those lines. You got to be ready. And all of these players seem anxious and excited to go to practice every day, waiting for their opportunity.
Well, that's what I've been very blessed. The way your best players allow the coach to coach them is how everybody else is going to follow. Sincere McCormick lets me coach him. Zachary Franklin lets me coach him. Josh Cephas, Maka, Spencer, Makai, Frank, Josh, they all let me coach them. You go to defense, Rashad Wisdom, Chuck, Trevor, Bull, Lorenzo, Day, all Tariq, all those kids, I can get after them. They let me coach them hard. Lucas Dean, 100 pluses, they let me coach them hard. So when your very best players allow you to coach them hard, everything else falls in place. And I'm extremely grateful, and our coaching staff is, the way our players have been so receptive to us.
This goes back, I think, to recruiting as well, because when you're recruiting these players, you kind of gets that sense that this player wants to get better. It's kind of like parenting in a certain extent. If you discipline your kids, they respect you more than if you don't, because they know you love them. They know you care about them. You know they want to get better.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of recruiting, so many of our kids, Jamal Liggett plays a true freshman. You're going to see Cyrus Simon come on this year. Walker Beatty, Danye last year. Taylor plays a true freshman. So we're really excited about Makai Hart. Our right tackle is a kid we recruited in here. Recruiting is important, but development is just as important. What Ryan Philo and Nick and Dan do with those kids to develop those kids and foster not only their athletic ability but psychologically. It's a big deal. And I always say this to the parents that I recruit the kids. We're not the parents. Our job is to assist them and help them. That's really what we try to do, Andy.
Yeah, and let's talk briefly about the race facility. We christened this building 2 weeks ago and introduced it to the community, the center point of the campus, and just part of the ongoing efforts that UTSA is making to really upgrade athletics here. This is the showpiece that every student athlete, not just the football players, will see when they are recruited and walk onto campus for the first time.
What I love about it, like Saturday, we're having the alumni back. So all those guys, I talked to my kids today about this. We're in the dog days of fall camp, right? I'm like, y'all are upset because y'all don't play for 2 more weeks. These guys didn't play a whole year.
Yeah.
And they got on a bus and they went to a high school and then they practiced and then they came back. They had the dog days of fall camp for an entire season. So I don't want to give my kids any slack. I can't wait till some of those guys are back Saturday to speak to my kids about what that was like, right? So not only is it great for our past guys, because the original 18 has to feel so responsible for this building. It's so great for our current players because they're so excited. A lot of those kids came to tears. And we had 2 commitments on the day we got moved into place, local kids that just love this facility and committed to us. So it ties all of us together. Our former players our current players and our future players.
And I know you've had some communication with former coach Larry Coker, who started this program and was part of those dog days back in 2009 and 10 to get ready for that first season.
Well, my office has some great windows that oversee the 50-yard line. This Saturday, Larry Coker is going to be in my office looking out those windows, watching practice. He'll be here for the barbecue. So we're thrilled to get Coach Coker back and his players back.
And just to have that, everybody needs a basis. For a school like Texas or A&M, those guys started the program 100 plus years ago. We're in year 11. We're going to celebrate year 10 this year because we didn't get to last year. But the program is in such an infancy and really much further along than I think people anticipate.
It's one of the challenges Coach Brown and I are going through right now. We want to make this building historical, and we should be able to go back and capture the last 10 years of the most important memories we all have. The original 18 pictures, some really beautiful touchdowns or plays in the Alamo Dome that obviously I'll need your help on, because I want y'all to walk through the building and go, have you thought about this, coach? Have you thought about this, coach? We'll go out and raise the money and get some stuff up on these walls to make this a true, basically a Hall of Fame, because we're so new, a history museum, and we get to capture it and build it from here on out.
All right, we're 2 weeks away from that first game at Illinois. How much Illinois prep have you started so far? What can you tell us about the Illini? They're going to play a week before us against Nebraska.
Yeah, we haven't really introduced a lot to our kids yet. Our coaching staff's been working on them. We'll start that Tuesday. We're going to scrimmage Saturday, make some decisions on travel, two deeps, leadership council, single digits, get that scrimmage put to bed, Sunday. Sunday night, start working on Illinois, work on them Monday, and we'll begin introducing them to the team on Tuesday.
How much does it help to have an actual game film next week when they're going to play Nebraska, where they're not going to see UTSA except what they saw in the bowl game or games last year?
Yeah, well, since they're a new staff, that's going to help. What's the trade-off of them getting to play and knock off all the rust and get into game shape?
Against Nebraska.
And we kind of learned that last year against Texas State, right? We almost ran out of gas. You kind of got to play yourself into shape. We were really good for about 2.5 quarters last year, and we just held on that last. So what's the trade-off? Yes, it's going to be great to get to see them and know what they're going to do, but it'd also be great if you could play and have that one game in just to get all the new away.
But you want a preseason game. I guess you get that in scrimmages, but it's not against the other team.
We talk about it all the time. The high school, all these get recruits. I ask them, who would your high school be playing tonight?
Yeah.
Because tonight they're all scrimmaging in the high school world. So at least it's something.
Yeah.
With us, all we got is each other. We just keep banging on each other.
And at some point you get tired of beating on each other. You're ready for that other team.
How many times are Maka and Bull going to go against each other? I imagine I'd love to know what the conversations are down there as many times they've gone against each other.
Well, iron sharpens iron. That's two of the best right there.
Proverbs. We talk about it all the time.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the everybody wants to know who the quarterback is. Frank Harris had a terrific year last year. Josh Atkins got he got his chance to start and got hurt on the first play. You've got others in that role right now. Where's the quarterback battle? I know you're not going to name a starter until we get to Illinois, but just how are each of those guys performing right now?
Well, philosophically, you can ask our kids. We basically have 1s and 1As. And we practice kids to play them. We don't practice kids just to practice them. They expect to play. Now, the quarterback position is a little bit different because I don't like guys having to look at that sideline and be worried about that stuff. But Frank and Josh have embraced each other since the first day, and all they do is encourage each other. Lowell's getting more healthy. He's not back yet, but he has put together a few good days. I hope we could have the old Lowell Narcisse back in 6 to 8 weeks where he feels comfortable every day. He's not there just yet. Eddie Lee has had a great fall camp. He continues to amaze the kids. He's got unbelievable accuracy with his arm. He's a way better athlete than people give him credit for. He can really move. And Cam's had a good camp. Cam's gotten better. He's gotten more accurate. And Zach is steady Eddie. Zach shows up every day and does a good job for us.
All right, let's talk about Sincere McCormick. Had he not missed the UTEP game last year, and obviously for good reasons, he went to be with his when his child was born. But here's one of the best running backs in the nation, and he plays for UTSA. And he's got another guy in Brendan Brady that's pushing him every single day, and there's 3 or 4 guys behind them that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, that's just who Sincere is. He's an unbelievable human. He wanted to be with his daughter, and he had let me know the whole year.
Yeah.
And then he didn't feel good coming back. He didn't feel that was fair to Brendan or to his daughter. And he wanted to be the legacy. And kudos to him. And I think Brendan might have rushed for 130 the week that he was gone, maybe 139 even.
Yeah.
They're a great 1-2 tandem. Brendan's healthy this year. He was out with ankle injury for over 8 weeks last year. We have some other good backs as well. Kadrick Cobbs is a really good running back. Jalen Lott's a good running back. But we brought in 2 dynamic running backs. DeAnthony from right here in the city, Converse Judson, and then we have a kid out of East Texas named Kavorian Barnes, who same ankle injury that Brendan had last year, he now has. So he's going to be out for a lot of the season.
All right. We talked about getting our fans back. Those that last year we were restricted to attendance. This year, for now, full capacity. We want people back. The dome is noisy, whether there's 10,000 or 50,000 in there, but it's so much better when there's a big number in a facility. The electricity just resonates from every member on the team, doesn't it?
Yeah, our social media department has done a fantastic job of celebrating some of those games of y'all in the past, Andy. And I'll admit, like, I watched one maybe last week where y'all were showing the Arizona game. That was incredible. I mean, that was just really incredible. Coach Brown speaks to me all the time about where all the talk's going to be. When's the crowd going to come back? When's the crowd going to come back? And Kevin assures me, Jeff, I promise you, you start winning a few ball games, they'll show back up. It's an incredible atmosphere. It's the old deal, the chicken or the egg, which comes first. We hope we won enough last year. That'll get everybody excited. They'll get with us early because that would help us. It's hard. It's just hard to beat us in there. And imagine what we'd be like with a crowd.
Yeah, winning is the best promotion ever. It always works.
It helps every marketing department. It helps every bit of advertising. It makes everybody's jobs a lot easier, including my own.
Yeah.
When we win.
Well, the practice after that win is a lot better than that practice after a loss, isn't it?
Yeah, people ask me all the time, would you rather lose pretty or win ugly? There is no lose pretty. I'll take win ugly every single week.
3-2 is fine.
We'll take it, Andy. We're going on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about the defense. And he's got about 17 nicknames now, but Jalen Haynes, whether it's Big Country or Bull or whatever he wants to be called this week, is one of the best players in the country at that position. He had a few games missed last year with injury. How's he doing anchoring that defensive line?
He's been there every day. I mean, that's been, it's different. He had surgery over the spring, so he was out for spring, but he's healthy right now. And he leads that D line. Him and Lorenzo do a really good job in those trenches down there. And we're expecting Bull to be a Bull down there and hopefully own the whole country and all his other nicknames. ESPN was asking me about my nose guard. Heck, I barely remembered his name. I kept calling him Bull and Country. They were like, who are you talking about? I'm like, I think his name is Jalen Haynes, I think.
Yeah, he's been a standout there for quite a while. You mentioned Trevor Armisen being elected as one of the leaders, but chose to wear number 15 last year to honor a friend. And he was on, it seemed like on every play, but so was Charles Wiley and Clarence Hicks and Tyler Mackey. And now you've got 3 or 4 other guys in that linebacker core.
Yeah, well, Jamal Liggins started every game
Yes.
with him as a true freshman. And we recruited some really good players in there. We had to get some depth at that position. Clarence plays the Sam out there, him and Day and Danye, and now we have Malik out there. But inside, we've really addressed that position. We've got, so many different players in there. It's going to be hard for you to keep up with how many linebackers we have in there, honestly. So that's something we've really addressed, and we're proud of that. We have a lot of depth up there. I mean, we'd be here a while going through our 3 deep. We really feel strongly. All those kids are back from the 1 deep. But some of those 2 deeps are back, and we've added some 3 deep.
Well, and there's been times, I'm sure, last year and in other coaching situations where you couldn't go 3 deep. The luxury of going 3 deep at a position group right now is really good because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah, no doubt. And as we all know, with COVID and it roaring its head again, what's that going to look like? Injuries, just stuff that just happens. But we recruited Caden Holt. A really good kid out of New Braunfels we feel really good about. We got Feaster and Prox, both grad transfers from Kansas who played on that team. They were both Texas kids that we knew their high school coaches, so we were very fortunate there. And we recruited some other kids in there as well that we feel really good about. That also the development, Avery Morris, who's a kid we recruited, has gotten a lot better in there. So we we feel really good. Obviously, you mentioned Tyler. He's really gained some weight. Looks a lot thicker. So Tyler and Trevor and Jamal basically played every rep in there last year. DeMarco's been injured. His ACL, so he'll be done for the season. That was unfortunate, a fall camp injury. But we feel really good about how many kids we have in there that can all play.
Rashad Wisdom is a special player and just jumped right in there his freshman year, continued last year. Talk about his progress and the rest of that secondary.
Yeah, well, Rashad gets all the credit and he deserves it. He's a great human being. He's a really good football player. But his counterpart over there, Anthony Parks, is back as well, and Kalechi is back as well. And so, Rashad played a lot for us last year. We brought in, a couple of players as well that we're excited about. He's from A&M, straight out of New Orleans. So, Clifford Chapman will do a great job for us. And we feel good about that safety position. Our nickels, I've already mentioned all those kids. And we're deep back there. Jamal Sam obviously has got talent. And just got, some things we got to clean up. Once we get that taken care of, he'll make his appearance out there as well.
I felt so good for Corey Mayfield last year and his development, because when he was a freshman, we basically ran out of cornerbacks and he had to play, and he admittedly will tell you before he was ready. And I remember a game at UAB where it got ugly early. And then last year for him to get an interception at UAB, where he basically was indoctrinated into college football, was so special. And then he just did yeoman's work after that in almost every game.
Yeah, well, him and Ken and Tariq, those three kids, really held that position down for us last year, and they're all back. Xavier Spencer's really coming on out there. DeJuan Griffin is coming on out there as his Xavier player. So we feel that we have more depth out there, and excited to watch those kids continue to grow.
You mentioned Hunter Duplessis, but you also have a great punter. Hopefully you don't have to use him a lot, but Lucas Dean's as good as it gets.
Yeah, he's a weapon. I teased him today that he couldn't punt before I shut up. I taught him everything, just like I did Michael Dickinson at the University of Texas, who was an Aussie that I recruited that's punting for the Seahawks right now. We were sharing Michael Dickinson's stories today. Lucas and I were just laughing. I guess he watched him on some interview. He said, "Coach, is it true y'all's first practice he was hitting balls, shanking them to the interstate?" And I'm like, "Yeah, those are all true stories. He was popping I-35 off the side of his foot over there when we were practicing down there." So he is really a freak of nature. And he's one of the few punters other than Michael that I've ever coached in my career that when he goes out there, you expect something big to happen. I can't tell you how many times last year Lucas flipped the field, but also pinned them on sky kicks. He can do both.
All right, as we transition into this year, your long-term goals, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how good can this program continue to be and grow?
Well, I've always said that since we've been here. We feel like this place has the potential to become a Central Florida or a TCU. We're in the 7th largest city in the country. We have a great university. We now have a great facility to recruit to, and we have a great place to play. So we're in the great state of Texas, where the best football is played in the country. I'm buddies with almost every single Texas high school football coach. We have tremendous connections and relationships. We get inside information on everybody. It's just a matter of us continuing to keep this thing moving. We've got it going in the right direction right now, and we just got to keep it moving that way. And we just got to keep chipping and chipping and chipping and chipping. And I know it sounds like coach talk, but we just got to keep winning the day. And if we do, it'll take care of itself.
It's that old Coach Pop thing. You hammer the rock. It's not the first one. It's the 100th one that finally breaks the rock.
There's no doubt. And when it gets going, you can't stop it. We've been studying the U. We watch something on the U every day because I feel if you go back and look at them in the 80s, it was a bunch of local kids that stayed home, that flipped a city, that had never won before. And now they've won 4 national championships from 4 different coaches. And our kids are so young, they have no idea who we're talking about on the U. But we just keep studying them. Maybe we don't want to get all the penalties those guys quite got, but the culture, their brand really flipped that entire city where everybody knows about the U now. And I'd love for one day our kids to be on TV on the National Football League, and they ask where they're from, and they're from the 210.
I'd love for like 38 players from one of your teams to end up in the NFL like theirs did.
Well, that helped Larry Coger become a great coach. It would also help me become a great coach too.
Absolutely. Jeff, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We're going to address the season ticket holders here for just a few more seconds, but can't wait for the season to begin in 2 weeks. And let's hope we all stay healthy and in all different phases and have a fantastic season in 2021.
Appreciate all you do, Andy. You're a real pro, and you're a fan of us, and we're a fan of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. It's the 10th anniversary this year that we're celebrating, but it is season 11. If you want season tickets, you can get them by calling 210-458-UTSA, online at goutsa.com. This is going to be an exciting year. And if you love football and you love San Antonio, you can put the two together and join us in the Alamo Dome. That season openers against Illinois. So we start the season on the road. It's a 6:30 kickoff in Champaign. If you want to listen to the radio broadcast, we're on the air at 4:30, and TV coverage begins around 6:30 for that game as well. The home opener is against Lamar 1 week later on September 11th. That'll be a 5 o'clock kickoff in the Alamo Dome. Radio broadcast coverage starts at 3. Also this year for our radio broadcast, if you want to come see us at the first hour of our pregame show, we'll be back out on the North Terrace of the Alamo Dome prior to the kickoff a couple hours before the game. 458-UTSA, online at goutsa.com. Come join us. Come be a part of the excitement, what is sure to be one of the best seasons in UTSA history. Birds up, go Runners, and we'll see you soon for UTSA football.